from the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus. This is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hello everyone, this is 1680 The Crow. I'm Sean Park and this is your 10 o'clock news update. Starting with an update on a trial, the closing argument will begin today in the first-degree murder of Ibrahim Ali. He pleaded not guilty in April due to murdering a 13-year-old girl in Burnaby Park back in July 2017. The jury heard from about 4 dozen witnesses throughout the trial, but Ali's lawyer told them they would not be calling any evidence. They argued it was due to the Crown not having proven Ali's guilt. Our producer Kaylin No has more on the story.
Hi, Sean. The Crown lawyers are expected to give their closing arguments first, and Ali's lawyers will follow. The judge will likely share their final instructions with the jury before they begin their deliberations next week. And now some other stories our newsroom is covering. Our reporter Abby Francis is chasing a story about the City of New Westminster endorsement of sex worker safety guidelines. Jerson Orshawn is looking at why there isn't a lot of Canadian TV shows and film content right now. Philip Kovacevic is looking into Richmond-based Ocean Legacy Foundation receiving provincial funding, and Kevin Pontius is chasing a story about a non-alcoholic bar that opened in Coquitlam. Back to you, Sean.
2 women who work for the Canadian Security Intelligence Service are raising concerns about the toxic work culture within the BC office. They say they were sexually assaulted by the same person, while one of them says she was raped 9 times. They say they have talked to the Canadian press, but they could not reveal their identities as they might face legal and professional repercussions from the CSIS if they do. Canadian press reporter Daryl Grieger explains why they decided to speak out now.
Radical or extraordinary steps they've taken now is to go on the record and speak out in the media because they've felt they've exhausted any other options.
They both started lawsuits against the federal government. In East Van, the Vancouver police say their investigation into a social media post about an alleged sexual assault earlier this month was a case of misinformation. They say the post made the community remain fearful after alleging that a woman was abducted, sexually assaulted, and severely beaten before being left in the park somewhere in the city. But police say they actually found a woman falling off of an electric scooter and hitting her face on the pavement instead. The Mounties say the woman was visiting from Mexico and she returned home after visiting the hospital. Moving on to international news, the 2023 United Nations Climate Change Conference is happening today through December 12th in Dubai. They have created a fund to support countries hit by disasters like flood and drought. The Associated Press reporter Charles de Ledesma has more insights.
Nearly all of the world's nations finalised the creation of a fund to help compensate countries struggling to cope with loss and damage caused by climate change, seen as a major first-day breakthrough at this year's UN Climate Conference, as early cash started going into it. Sultan Al Jaber, COP28's president, hailed the first decision to be adopted on day one of any COP and said his country, the United Arab Emirates, would chip in $100 million to the fund. Other countries have stepped in with big ticket commitments, including Germany, also at $100 million. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
In stateside, a federal watchdog is planning to investigate how the Biden administration chose a new site for the new FBI headquarters following a multiple allegation of conflict of interest. This would replace the current FBI's crumbling headquarters in nearby Washington, D.C. The agency has denied any conflict of interest and said they picked Greenbelt because it was the cheapest option. Looking at the weather now, it's looking fairly cloudy outside. Remember to bring your umbrellas as there's a 30% chance of showers late this morning and early this afternoon. By 3 o'clock, it will start raining throughout the day. Today will be a high of 6 and a low of 1 this morning. The UV index is still at a low of 1. Tomorrow, there's a 60% chance of showers in the morning with a high of 5 and a low of 3. And that's it for today's 10 o'clock news update. I'm Sean Park, and this is 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Hello and welcome to For the Record. I'm Kate Leno, and on this episode, we'll be talking about food insecurity. The high cost of living, especially here in Metro Vancouver, is a growing issue that we've all been dealing with. Whether it be housing or groceries, It seems as though the cost just keeps on going up. Well, one local nonprofit is helping to solve food insecurity and mitigate food waste in the city. On this episode, I speak with Michelle Reining. She's the executive director of Vancouver Food Runners, and I talk to her about how they're rescuing surplus food from businesses and redirecting them to nonprofits. Hi, Michelle. Thanks for joining us today. So, as food insecurity is a huge issue right now, how does Vancouver Food Runners work to help solve this issue?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now in BC, 1 in 7 households are food insecure. Vancouver Food Runners, we work with 130 nonprofit partners across Metro Vancouver, and we use app technology and a team of volunteers to help redirect over 100,000 pounds of food to these nonprofit partners each month. The food donations are used in community meals, food hampers, or even for direct food provision.
And which demographics are most in need at the moment?
Well, honestly, food insecurity is impacting many individuals right now and households. In terms of food insecurity, single mothers and their children are a demographic group that are experiencing a lot of food insecurity, racialized populations, seniors with a low income, and at-risk youth and children.
And how much more food or how much more demand have you guys seen compared to when you first started?
Yeah, I mean, given that, we're connecting with our nonprofit partners, from what we hear from them, the wait lists are growing for their programs. I think throughout COVID, you're seeing this, increasing demand. Housing affordability is really impacting so many in the lower mainland. You have rising food prices at the moment and just essentials and transportation as well. We're hearing from our partners that food insecurity remains front and center as a critical issue, and they're, having to address this each and every day.
And what has the reactions from different nonprofits been like when they receive food from Food Runners?
Well, I mean, obviously gratitude front and center, but it's such a huge and valuable help to them. Some organizations like the YWCA or Directions Youth Services, we're bringing them almost 100,000 pounds of food. So this is money that they don't have to spend on purchasing food. And it's also money that they can then put back towards their core programming as well. So this is, in some instances, it's really like a financial donation of almost over $100,000 for some of our major partners.
And why is the work that Vancouver Food Runners do important to yourself?
That's a good question. Well, I think for me, food insecurity is obviously a critical issue. At the same time, we're working with about 160 food businesses right now and helping them to redirect their surplus food. So this is, increasing sustainable practices in the food sector. It's helping to reduce food waste and mitigate CO2 from the environment. So we're really, we're touching on 2 critical issues right now that are very important. And I think, we are a different model in that we use technology and volunteers. So we're incredibly impactful in that sense. We have a very small team, but we can do a lot, especially because our volunteer team is so large as well. So we work with over 300 volunteer food drivers every month to help redirect this food to Metro Vancouver nonprofits that are doing incredible work throughout the city.
And is it just restaurants, or are there grocers that have surplus groceries that you guys collect donations from?
Excellent question. So again, because of the nature of our model, and we're incredibly flexible, so we pick up from a range of food businesses. So picture small cafes and bakeries, restaurants, but we also work with large wholesalers. We work with retail grocery stores like Safeway, Save on Foods, and Nesters. And then we also work with meal prep companies like Fresh Prep or Up Meals as well. So we're really able to, reach most food businesses across Metro Vancouver and support them in redirecting their surplus food.
And how long does the whole process take from when a business is matched with a nonprofit? How long does it take to get the food to the nonprofits?
Yeah, I mean, most of our rescues right now are weekly rescues. So, a volunteer will come and the pickup and then to the actual nonprofit partner is less than 10 minutes. So from start to finish, a rescue is only like less than an hour. If a new partner was to call us in the morning and they wanted a donation, we could probably pick up that food within a couple of hours. And again, it goes back to the nature of our model and being able to use technology and volunteer drivers to redirect the surplus food quickly and efficiently.
And is Food Runners only available for nonprofits, or can individuals use the app to access food as well?
Yeah, good question. So right now we're primarily working with nonprofit partners. That said, we do have a couple of drop-offs that are at community fridges. And, that's just the nature of our program and how we operate. But through our nonprofit partners, we're actually reaching over 12,000 individuals per month. So, and all of our partners are spread out across the city. So it's not like, one individual is having to, access one food bank. We're trying to get food to individuals within their neighborhood, within a short drive or walk. So it's increasing sort of equitable access as well.
And you mentioned that there is an environmental aspect to what you guys do. Could you just talk a little bit more about that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, food waste, if food waste is going to the landfill, that's going to create methane, which is, obviously a huge problem for the environment. So by being able to redirect it away from the landfill, we're able to then mitigate that CO2 from the environment. So since we've started, we have mitigated probably 2.5 million pounds of CO2 equivalent from the environment.
And with the holidays coming up, will you guys be doing anything different to help the nonprofits?
Yeah, I mean, this year has been such a big year for us. Our program has expanded by over 40% in terms of the amount of poundage we're delivering. By the end of the year, we expect that 1.2 million pounds of food will be delivered to nonprofits. So we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. We're a small team. We're trying to meet the need of our nonprofit partners and obviously support them in meeting the needs of their clients. So yeah, if anyone wants to volunteer, it's so easy to download the Vancouver Food Runners app. It's free. You can instantly see the food rescues that are available near you. And at the same time, we're a small nonprofit. So, if you want to support with a financial donation, that is always welcome as well.
And in terms of funding, would you want to see any additional support from the city or any other organizations? What is your funding looking like right now?
Yeah, I think right now a lot of charities and nonprofits, just given sort of the economic context right now, are struggling, for those fundraising dollars. We do have some wonderful financial partners, but again, we offer a free food recovery program. So that means our businesses do not pay anything to be involved in this program, nor do our nonprofits have to pay to receive these donations. So we're entirely reliant upon our financial partners for their support. So yes, if you want to have a big impact, every dollar that is donated to Vancouver Food Runners equals $11 in food being delivered to nonprofits across Metro Vancouver for their food programming. It's a high impact way to give back this holiday season.
And lastly, is there anything else you would want to say about the work that Vancouver Food Runners is doing, as it's obviously very important to the current issues that we're facing?
Yeah, I just thank you for this opportunity to share about Vancouver Food Runners. We're a small Metro Vancouver registered charity. We're a tiny team of 4 full-time staff, and we're having a big impact in the city. And, every day we are grateful to be able to support our nonprofit partners across the city that are doing such incredible work to support so many this holiday season.
All right, thank you so much, Michelle. Thanks for listening to this episode of For the Record. I'm Caitlin O. Stay tuned for more episodes produced by our BCIT students on 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning and welcome to your 10:30 news update. I'm Nathan Maley. Crown lawyers are beginning their closing remarks today in the first-degree murder trial of Ibrahim Ali. Ali pleaded not guilty to the murder of a 13-year-old girl who was found dead in a Burnaby park in July of 2017. The jury in the trial heard from around 50 Crown witnesses throughout the trial, but Ali's lawyer said they would not be calling any evidence because the Crown hadn't proven Ali's guilt. Defense closing arguments are expected after the Crown's remarks, and the judge has told the jury deliberations will likely start next week. Two women who work for the Canadian Security Intelligence Service are raising concerns about the toxic work culture within the BC office. They say they were sexually assaulted while carrying out covert operations. Both officers say the same person sexually assaulted them, while one of them says she was raped 9 times. Their identities could not be revealed due to the repercussions that could come from CSIS if they do. Canadian press reporter Daryl Greer explains why they decided to speak out now.
Radical or extraordinary steps they've taken now is to go on the record and speak out in the media because they've felt they've exhausted any other options.
They've both started lawsuits against the federal government. One case is still unheard, while the other one, filed by the woman who says she was raped, was dismissed by the judge. The judge said the woman didn't go through all the internal complaint process. After years in the making, Canadians will finally be getting access to Suicide Crisis Hotline. Canadians can now call or text 988 when they know someone or are in a crisis. Most calls answered will be in the same region, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and free of charge. The hotline is expected to take in between 600,000 and 700,000 calls in the first year alone. An estimated 4,500 Canadians die via suicide a year, and the number of people in crisis has grown according to experts. 988 went live at 6 a.m. this morning. Vancouver police have said a social media post claiming sexual assault earlier this month is a case of misinformation following their investigation. The department says the post stoked community fear after alleging a woman had been abducted, sexually assaulted, and beaten before being left in a park in a different city. But throughout witnesses and security footage, it was determined the woman had actually fallen off an electric scooter and hit her face on the pavement. The woman had been visiting from Mexico and was taken to the hospital and has since returned home. 2 of the 3 big banks in Canada that issued quarterly reports this morning posted higher profits. Don Kelly of the Canadian Press has more.
The Royal Bank's fourth quarter profit came in at $4.13 billion, up from $3.88 billion in the same quarter last year. RBC's raising its dividend by 3 cents a share. So is CIBC. Its fourth quarter profit rose from nearly $1.19 billion last year to $1.48 billion. TD Bank Group's fourth quarter profit fell to $2.89 billion, down from $6.67 billion last year, as it took a restructuring charge related to job cuts and put more money aside to cover potential bad loans. But it's raising its dividend by 6 cents a share. Don Kelly, The Canadian Press, Toronto.
Saskatchewan Premier Scott Moe announced the province is going to stop collecting carbon tax on electric heat. Moe says the province wants to help take a percentage off of people's electricity bills.
We also own the electrical utility, and that's why our government has decided that SaskPower will also stop collecting the carbon tax on electric heat effective January the 1st.
The Premier also said the province will stop remitting the carbon price on natural gas, arguing Ottawa's exemption for home heating oil isn't fair. Another 24-hour extension of the ceasefire in Gaza has been agreed upon. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has made it clear military operations will resume once the truce expires. ABC's Ines de la Cuerta has more.
He is doubling down on his goals to eradicate Hamas. As we've been talking about this temporary ceasefire and the possibility of extending the ceasefire, there have been questions as to whether the fighting would resume in Gaza, whether it would resume with the same intensity, and the Israelis are shooting down any notion that the fighting will stop. The Israelis saying there is no way they won't see this through to the end.
And that doesn't.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the lower mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. but it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Siggi-Kane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
We respectfully acknowledge that we are situated on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples, including Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Musqueam nations.
All right.
Get ready, on your toes.
Oh, shit!
Growing up, like, native tournaments was like a big thing for my parents, and they're the ones that showed me how to play soccer.
As much as Penelope Sparrow is on track to reaching new levels of professional soccer, She does not forget where it all came from.
And they'd bring me around until it got to a point where I was 4 years old and we put on a pair of cleats and started playing. And I'd be there right by their side, learning with them. And that's kind of where I started. And then it just kept going on. I got put in a couple leagues growing up, and I just grew to love it. I was about 13, and that's when I knew I truly loved the sport. Like, it was more than just kicking the ball, like you said. It was more of like a family, us together.
So to welcome you to our territory, which is known as UBC, which is known as Vancouver.
For Thompson Nelson, it's important for him to reflect on his roots while mentoring the next generation of Indigenous athletes.
It was just built into our family. And so from the time I could walk, my dad was throwing a soccer ball at me and just go out and have fun. And he was a traveling kind of traditional artist, merchant salesman, so we'd go to all the soccer tournaments across Vancouver Island, as well as over here on the mainland in the Indigenous circuit. So I just grew up around watching it, playing it, and just watching every aspect of it. And so I really fell in love with it, and every morning I'd go and just watch with him.
Both Thompson and Penelope are currently working with Hope and Health, coaching the younger generation at the UBC Thunderbird Stadium.
Hope and Health is a sport for social impact organization that works specifically with Indigenous children and youth and their communities to develop life and leadership skills. It's about creating a program that's accessible within Indigenous communities. As a result of colonization, programs haven't been accessible, nor have they been created that are culturally safe for Indigenous children and youth. So we wanted to close that gap. We really have been working on creating the pathway from those young, talented athletes that aspire to go pro or play to an elite level as high as they can go. When we had the opportunity to consider to take ownership over the League One BC Varsity FC team, it just made total sense that that would allow us to create that piece, which is the semi-professional, high-performance level, so then we can work with our communities as young as 3, 5 as little champions, all the way through their journey to Natsama FC.
Varsity FC was run by UBC Athletics, but Hope and Health purchased the rights and has rebranded as Natsama FC. Perhaps due to a lack of representation, many Indigenous athletes struggle on their journeys, often giving up.
So we're on the Musqueam field, where I grew up to love soccer. I always feel safe here, comfortable. I know when I've had a long day or a hard day, I try to do other things like art, track, all the other sports, but soccer was always something that I couldn't live without. When they think of soccer, they don't think of us, and obviously that's very hard because growing up, that was my FIFA. Going to tournaments, watching it, it was my FIFA. Like, that was my World Cups. Watching them play, it was like other players I couldn't see in TV. And the kind of passion and like support we have, it should be noticed. You don't see any Native players, obviously. And it was just a battle. It's just like, am I trying, like, am I doing enough? Am I gonna achieve anything? Like, I didn't see anybody like me. So it was obviously really tough. It's just like, am I there for nothing? Am I doing this all for nothing? Like, there's nobody, I had nobody to like look up to.
One significant kind of moment for me was in high school. I was about 14, and I wasn't, like I said, I was a late bloomer. I was a bit out of shape, I guess, plumper than some of the other boys. And we had these fitness tests to introduce us into the high performance leagues, like for example, like Natsama and like UVic, Union Up to University. And I failed this fitness test. I guess not failed, but I just didn't do well. So that was really significant for me because I was bullied for that, and it felt pretty bad. So then I did that for a year, and then I came back the next year and nobody recognized me. I slimmed out, I got better. People thought I was an exchange student until I said my name. And then I came back and did that same fitness test, and I was in the top 2. I got like level 12 or something. But I think one of the lowest points, it's not a low point, but something you just kind of live with, was, like I said, my dad passed away when I was 7. And then he was one of my biggest role models. And I'm thankful for my uncle taking over and like raising me as one of his own too. But like not having that male figure to really be like, good job, son, or like, you know, like, saying like, good job, son, or like, everybody had their dads there. And me, after I finished a game, I'd just look in the stands, and sometimes I'd have family, sometimes I wouldn't, and then it'd be like kind of like a little, you sit in the change room, you give yourself like a little self vibe, or like, and sometimes it's just nice to have that outer, I don't know, just a little nudge like, hey, you're doing well, just you're on the right path kind of thing. Because sometimes you just don't know, you get lost along the way, and sometimes you need that little push. But I'm grateful for everybody in my life and who have brought me and raised me to bring me to this opportunity. But in essence of barriers, like there definitely is barriers out there. And it can be a struggle, but you just gotta be proud, like don't fall into negativity. Like if somebody has something bad to say about you, just brush it off and just keep moving forward in a positive way. Because as an Indigenous youth, like we're representing our community, not just ourselves. Like it takes a village to raise a child. Like for me as an example, I had uncles, aunties, coaches, a plethora of people that like help support me. And it really shows like growth and development. And you're just there to represent your people to the best of your abilities and just make whoever proud and yourself proud, more importantly, and then just walk in a good way.
I was sitting in bed, not doing nothing, and then I got the call from Jesse. I was just amazed. It felt like my dreams were coming true. My journey was it felt like it was just a fresh start. Like, I was excited. I couldn't even think. I was speechless. When I was talking to him, I didn't even know what I said. I blacked out. Like, it was just, I was like, oh my God. Like, I already know what this is gonna bring, and I'm so excited. Like, I can't even express the emotions.
And when I found out, I was like, okay, this is something cool. This is a big step. Like, let's just go and take the plunge, see what happens. So I came here, and the group was very welcoming, and it was just nice to be in just such a high level. And right away, you could notice the jump. It was faster, people were smarter, the play was just intense. But I loved every minute of it, and I loved seeing if I can rise to the challenge. Oh, what a finish, all right. And when I got that call to come back for more tryouts and then that final assessment that I made the squad, it was over the moon. I didn't really know how to like react. I was on the ferry trying not to like laugh out loud. I had just like big smirk because I was sitting next to people I didn't know, and I was like, I had to go outside and just like take a breath of fresh air. But it was just awesome just because for a moment of like, that's it, this is a big moment just to like prove Indigenous players have capabilities and opportunities to show talent, because there's a lot that fall through the cracks that just don't get that opportunity. And sometimes all you just need is that one, or even that one person that believes in you. And I'm hoping this platform of Natsuma, and even me just being here, will show other Indigenous youth and other players that you can do it. You just dedication, hard work, and lots of just faith, and just reaching out to, like putting yourself out there, and not being afraid of like the racial barriers or like people doubting you that you can't do it.
For sure. Nice dribbling. Almost. We have them wide. We've been hidden for a long time, overlooked. We don't really get noticed like this, and such an opportunity like this, I can't hold back, express how I play, show how I play. Like, playing with like First Nations, it's a different game. Like,
To date, Natsuman FC has signed 11 Indigenous players across the men's and women's teams, including 5 Indigenous assistant coaches. Their inaugural season begins April 29th at Swangard Stadium.
One, two.
2, 3.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trettenaro.
And I'm Radhika King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the lower mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Hello everyone, this is 1680 The Crow. I'm Sean Park and this is your 11 o'clock news update. Starting with an update on a trial, the closing argument of a first-degree murder trial of Ibrahim Ali will begin today in the BC Supreme Court in Vancouver. Ali pleaded not guilty in April due to murdering a 13-year-old girl in Burnaby. The body of a girl was found in Burnaby Central Park back in July 2017, just hours after her mother reported her missing. Ali's lawyer told the jury last week that they would not be calling any evidence in the defense due to the Crown not having proven Ali's guilt. The Crown lawyers are expected to give their closing argument first, and Ali's lawyers will follow. The judge will likely share their final instructions with the jury before they begin their deliberations next week. The City of New Westminster recently endorsed sex workers' safety guidelines following similar actions to the City of Vancouver, Nanaimo, and Surrey. Reporter Abby Francis has the story.
In an email statement from PACE, a peer-driven organization that advocates for sex workers, they say they are very glad that the City of New Westminster cares about sex worker safety and hope other municipalities follow suit, adding this type of work is very important for removing stigma around sex work. On November 27th, the City of New Westminster endorsed sex worker safety guidelines and allocated $5,000 towards city staff training around sex work safety. The endorsement also included working with PACE and living in the community for the next steps, and will continue collaboration with the working group the city put together in February of this year. That group includes 12 people, 6 of which have lived experience with sex work, as well as the members from SWAN, PACE, Living in the Community, local nonprofits, and the Vancouver City Social Planner. Abby Francis, 1680 The Crow.
The British Columbia's Health Ministry says Vancouver's Coastal Health will set up a clinic space next to St. Paul's Hospital. They're doing it for those who want to use medical assistance in dying while being treated. They say this is a workaround to allow the hospital to continue refusing to opt out of medical assistance in dying as it goes against the teachings of the Catholic Church. The patients from St. Paul will be using MAID to be will be discharged to Providence Health, and then they will be transferred to the Vancouver Coastal Health staff managing the new building for MAID. This new area is expected to be completed in August 2024. Moving on to international news, as the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas extends for another 24 hours, Israel says the Red Cross transferred 2 women who had been held in the Gaza Strip to Israeli forces. ABC reporter Ines de la Curtara says it could be a part of Hamas' promised 10 releases in the latest agreement.
Terms of the ceasefire appear to be the same. They remain the same, at least according to Qatar. So we are expecting 30 Palestinian prisoners to be exchanged for 10 Israeli hostages. It appears, our understanding is that it will be just 10 Israelis.
The ceasefire talks seems to be growing more challenging as Hamas has already freed most of the women and children kidnapped during the October 7th attack on Israel. The militants are expected to make much greater demands in return for freeing civilian men and soldiers moving forward. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is planning to visit Kupiansk. This is an area under conflict in the northeastern Kharkiv region. The Associated Press reporter Charles de Ledesma has more updates about the Russia-Ukraine war.
At a military base there, Zelensky met General Alexander Suruski, the commander of Ukraine's ground forces, and other high-ranking military officers. Zelensky told the military team, "Take care of yourselves, take care of your fellow soldiers who fight next to you every day. I wish you victory, be strong, do not lose initiative, defend the Kharkiv region, Kupiansk." It's the second day the Ukrainian president has been touring the country. On Wednesday he visited Kherson, Mykolaiv and Odessa in southern Ukraine. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Looking at the weather now, it's looking fairly cloudy outside. By 3 o'clock, it will start raining throughout the day. Today will be a high of 6 and a low of 1 this morning. The UV index is still at a low of 1. Tomorrow, there's a 60% chance of showers in the morning with a high of 5 and a low of 3. And that's it for the 11 o'clock news update. I'm Sean Park, and this is 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the lower mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikki-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Trettenero.
And I'm Radhika Sikki-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.